the best news actually to come as well, another good news, is courtesy of BBC News. It says pubs could stay open longer under a new licensing reform. This is to help inject new money or inject more money back into the UK economy, because I guess people aren't going outside and spending a lot of money on booze as they probably should, according to the government. Maybe it's to do with changes in culture. I feel like nowadays more and more of our friends socially are becoming sober, but not like boring sober where they can still go out, but they just prefer not to drink or do drugs. That's becoming a big trend nowadays, especially with the Gen Z kids. But a lot of people, millennials even, are deciding to suck off the booze. And in the UK, a big part of social gatherings, a big part of you being social or finding friends is your ability to hang in the pub. So this becoming, them this noticing the shift and wanting to inject back or allow people to stay there longer to inject more money into the economy, I think it's a good idea. But I also think it's a good idea off bat. I think it's a good idea because this will end up alleviating all the pressure on clubs and shit. Because I think there are some people out there who probably shouldn't be in clubs. Who probably have no reason to be in a club, but they only go there because the clubs are open late. And they come with the wrong energy, or they come with a weird energy. So you've got a weird mix of people on the dance floor. Whereas it should be people on the dance floor who kind of want to be there, not people who just want to go get fucked up. But I think if you spread the load, right, for lack of a better term, if you spread the load and you have people clubbing, you have people in cocktail bars, wine bars, pubs and shit, it helps to spread the load. So when it comes to, end of the daytime, when it comes to home time, people aren't just rushing to the clubs to stay. Because I remember that's what happened when I first went to Hastings. When I first went to Hastings to go visit a friend back in the day, that was the first thing I remember feeling. I was like, oh, this is so gross. But I kind of got why, I remember because I would watch these shows. I don't know if they're still around, but there'd be these TV shows. They used to air in the UK where they would kind of follow the ambulance service on a weekend, right? Payday weekend or something, or maybe Halloween weekend. And they'll follow them. It'll be like a reality, like a real life thing, right? They'll be recording these nurses and mostly nurses and ambulance people and shit as they attend to people who fall over when they're drunk or get into fights and shit. And you'd always see a part of that show where the driver or whoever that is in the ambulance be sitting there thinking, oh, it's a calm before the storm. They knew exactly when it'll kick off. They're kind of watching their watches, and as soon as people get chucked out of clubs or as soon as pubs, and I think in smaller towns or especially places like Hastings, the pubs will stay open until like 11 or 12, let's say, right? But then the pubs, because they only stay open until 11 or 12, they then decide to serve drinks earlier, or they then decide to open earlier, or they have a longer happy hour. So the pubs that are open till 10 might have a happy hour from like 5 till 6. But the happy hour will be crazy good. Like it'll be like, I don't know, £1 drinks or something. So they want you to get there early for that hour to spend as much money as you can on the cheap booze. And obviously, if you continue to get licked, you're probably going to stay there. But if you want to continue the night, you're going to go to a club. But then imagine how much booze you've already got inside of you. Imagine how licked you are. You probably have no business being in any club. You should be in your bed somewhere. So I feel like these type of laws, if they come into place, because they're still under consideration, nothing's been confirmed yet. But if there are some changes in licensing laws that allow pubs to stay open for longer, I bet you, if you go clubbing in the UK, you'll notice a drastic improvement in how much fun you have in clubs, because it will change the makeup, the mixture of people in there. There'll be less people in there trying to get fucked up, more people in there for the music. That's what I think. That's the hope. And that's what I think happens in other cities around the world, like the Amsterdams and the Berlins and stuff, because they have a pub culture or a bar culture where places like that are open till 4 a.m. You don't need to go to a club. If you're in a cool cocktail bar that opens until 5, 6 a.m., you don't need to go to a club anymore, because this is a pretty decent setting. You're sat by the bar, you're having a powwow with the fucking bartender, you're telling them your life story, you're sharing stories to other people, you're putting tunes on the jukebox. You don't need to go to a club, but then when they open, when they close early, of course you want to go. But then you're already going there steaming and probably not the best, probably not on your best behavior. So I hope this is true, and I hope this comes about. Let's read the article. It says the plans could make it easier for venues to serve food outside and host more live music, in a bid to remove unnecessary barriers. Pub landlords and local authorities and communities will be able to have their say in a 4-week call for evidence. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said the review was about cutting the tape and boosting the footfall for the support of the UK economy growth. but critics have warned that relaxing the rules around alcohol would lead to more antisocial. But brother, like, something has to be done. Like, give it a rest, man. This whole country is built on antisocial behavior. Like, oh, if we happen to the pub, it's gonna be antisocial. Bro, this whole country is built on antisocial behavior. Like, stop this nonsense. Another one. So Keir Starmer said pubs and bars are the beating heart of our communities, and added that the government was backing them to thrive. When our locals do well, our economy does too. The call for evidence will focus on the Nike recommendations for the government licensing task force, while particular emphasis on streamlining on trade alcohol licensing for hospitality venues. It said that it plans to cut the cost of licensing, extend business rates relief, and cut alcohol duty on draft pints. That's great. Because the licensing laws in place, like in a borough like Hackney, for instance, the licensing laws there are so bad, but they did that on purpose to kind of kill the clubs, because they didn't want the clubs to be there, because they wanted more bars and restaurants to attract a different type of person to come to that area to buy houses, whatever, right? It's a whole thing. And I have sympathy with those people. But I feel like when it comes to gentrification, when it comes to licensing laws, there has to be a middle ground. There has to be some level of like some level of negotiation that kind of suits both parties, because I feel like for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it's because people that own homes pay more in taxes or whatever, but whenever these conversations come up, like imagine if there's a poppin' pub around the corner from a residential area, there's never a consideration for how that pub is gonna fare in the future. As soon as the residents oppose it, there's no licensing for you. Whereas I think there should be some sort of like mutual agreement, a compromise that can be reached for both parties. Maybe the pub can't stay open until 7 a.m. Maybe they can compromise and say 4, you know? Maybe they can compromise and make edits and make sure that there's fucking soundproofing in the pub and stuff. Whatever. Something needs to be done to kind of help both parties. But in the UK, it's always favoring the residents, always favoring the businesses like restaurants and cocktail bars, but never people that actually go out and stuff, which is kind of annoying. Hopefully that's kind of part of this. I don't think it is, but hopefully it is. The proposal to remove the local newspaper advertising requirement for a manager wanting to set up a premises or alter their license was among the task force's other recommendations. I didn't know that. That's a rule. Look how fucking old school that rule is. A proposal to remove the local newspaper advertising requirement for a manager wanting to set up a premises. Wow. It also recommended a permanent increase to the number of temporary event notices needed to hold a one-off licensable event on unscheduled premises, and simpler rules for trading in outdoor areas. Yeah, exactly. Needed. And I wonder if that's DJ AG influence. I wonder if that last sentence there, rules for trading outdoors, that whole unlicensed premises, I wonder if that's like the influence of DJ AG, or just the influence of the trend of a lot of these like guerrilla marketing music campaigns that they do under the Shoreditch Bridge or in random places. Now I just want to make it legit so no one gets in trouble. I like that. It continues as Nick McKenzie, the co-chair of the licensing task force and the chief executive of the pub group, or the pub giant, Green King, said the updating licensing system was a vital step towards reducing the challenges of running a hospitality business. Pubs are faced with the continued rising costs, he said, placing them under enormous pressure, which is why the government must continue to back the sector, including critical reforms on business rates, to unlock opportunities in the UK pubs. UK Hospitality and the body which represents the pubs and the bars in the UK welcomed the review. Under the current regime, it said a single complaint from a single resident. Exactly, this is what I hate. Under the current regime, a single complaint from a single resident is enough to stop a business from being able to trade. It can result in a review. It can result in the business being closed down, says Kate Nichols, chief executive of the body, told the BBC Radio 4 program. And that's something I don't know. That's something I can never get jiggy with. I can never get jiggy with one person deciding the fate or the future of millions or of hundreds of thousands. It's just not fair. There should be, again, compromises should be reached. Or maybe if you're going to have the complaints thing, have it be triggered by a number of people complaining about the same thing. Have the trigger be 10 or something. Don't have it one fucking, party people, neighbor that's not on anything deciding that, oh yeah, this whole strip of places, you're gone because I want to sleep at 6 p.m. in the evening. Like, allow it. It continues. This is not about trading later. It's not about the 24-hour licensing drinking. This is about making sure that what we can respond to consumer demands and that we can offer freedom and flexibility at a low enough cost. Andrew Griffith, the Shadow Business Secretary, called for the government to implement licensing task force recommendations published in June. But Richard Pipper, the chief executive of the Charity of Alcohol Change UK, told The Guardian that the proposed reforms could be a charter for chaos without the support of the local brother. Like, honestly, like I said, like, this whole country is built on chaos. This whole country has been built off the back of chaos. Like, just relax, man. Ain't that deep. It really isn't. It continued here, said he's permitting vendors to sell alcohol later in the evening would inevitably mean more victims of crime, including domestic violence, more antisocial behavior, disturbances, police time spent dealing with drink-fueled instances, and both ambulances and A&E staff having to deal with even more people who have come to harm as a result of alcohol. That's all true, but unfortunately you have to roll the dice on that one. All of that is true, but unfortunately you have to roll the dice on that one and just test and see where I'm going, because not knowing is just as bad, you know? Not knowing is just as bad. Pubs in England and Wales do not have universal fixed opening hours under current licensing laws. Instead, local authorities grant licenses. Exactly, yeah. So I think there's a pub in my area somewhere. Where is it? Kind of in my area that's open until like 6. So it depends where you are in the world or where you are in London. There are some pubs here that are open until 6. There's some pubs here that will close at 10. It just depends on where you go. But some sort of like general rule across the board will be definitely handy for a lot of people, I think. The number of pubs in the UK has steadily decreased in every year since 2000, according to the British Beer and Pub Association. The association estimates that 378 pubs will close in 2025 across England, Wales, and more than the 5,600 chops direct job losses. Jesus Christus. The BBC has heard from landlords and customers on the government's licensing review. Mark Costello, let's see what people have to say, the actual people. What do the people have to say here? Mark Costello from Leeds, who runs a brewery and a tap room, said costs were his main concern. It doesn't matter how long we're allowed to stay open, it costs a huge amount to stay open. Okay, cool. Another person here, Josh Ashton from Huddersfield, who owns 2 micro pubs, said he had to deal with a bureaucratic mountain when dealing with the councils, who he says are barriers to growth. Andy Hefsfield, East Sussex, at the pub he lives next to, is making everyone's lives a misery, and the longer hours, the more okay, so it seems that the people that are actually living this place, they don't like it. This guy lives next to a pub and he said it's already causing everyone's misery. So if they allowed him to open later, it would be more misery extended throughout the night and the morning. That's hilarious. David from Cambridge, who has been a pub goer for 55 years, says the increased business rates, national insurance, and minimum wage, and customers with less disposable income are the real problem facing pubs. Yeah, that's true. I think that's all very true. But I do think for what we have available, you know, for what we have available. But I really hope it happens. I really hope it works out. Really hope we get to see more pubs in the UK open for longer. More pubs in the UK open for longer. Please, motherfuckers. Please, please, please.